It began with a quiet order delivered behind the thick walls of Buckingham Palace. An order so unexpected that even veteran courtiers reportedly stopped mid-sentence. Within hours, access cards were quietly revoked, schedules were altered, and one senior royal found herself standing before doors that would no longer open. What seemed like a minor administrative change soon revealed itself as something far more devastating. The final humiliation, insiders whispered, had finally begun. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. At first, the rumors seemed too extraordinary to believe. Palace circles are no strangers to gossip, and whispers often rise and disappear before they ever reach the public. But this time felt different. Reports began circulating among royal watchers that Prince William had authorized a series of unexpected changes involving access to some of the most important spaces within the royal household. No official announcement was made. No explanation was offered. Yet those closest to palace operations reportedly noticed that something significant had shifted almost overnight. Security procedures that had remained unchanged for years were suddenly being reviewed. Staff schedules were quietly adjusted. Meetings appeared on calendars and disappeared just as quickly. The atmosphere inside royal corridors, according to insiders, became tense and unusually guarded. Then came the moment that truly ignited speculation. Queen Camilla reportedly arrived expecting what should have been a routine royal engagement. Instead, according to multiple palace sources, she was met with unexpected restrictions that left even experienced staff members stunned. Nobody seemed willing to explain exactly what had happened. Senior aides maintained complete silence. Questions were met with polite smiles and carefully chosen words. The refusal to comment only intensified curiosity. If nothing unusual had occurred, many wondered, why was everyone suddenly so reluctant to speak? The mystery deepened as reports emerged of unusual security updates being implemented behind the scenes. Individuals familiar with palace operations claimed that access permissions had been modified with remarkable speed. Such changes were rarely made without significant authorization, leading many observers to focus their attention on William himself. As the future king, his influence had been steadily growing for years. But some insiders believed this situation represented something more than administrative housekeeping. They suspected it was part of a larger effort to redefine power within the monarchy at a moment when uncertainty surrounded the institution's future. What made the situation even more explosive was the claim that tensions had not appeared overnight. Royal insiders suggested that disagreements had been quietly building for months. Small incidents that once seemed insignificant were suddenly being re-examined through a new lens. Conversations that had reportedly ended in frustration. Strategic decisions that revealed competing visions. Private frustrations that never reached public view. One by one, these pieces began forming a picture that was impossible to ignore. Something had been changing inside the royal family long before the public became aware of it, and now the consequences appeared to be unfolding in plain sight. Yet as shocking as the report seemed, those locked doors were only the beginning of a story that stretched far beyond a single royal dispute. Because locked doors were only the surface of a much larger battle unfolding deep within the heart of the monarchy. Outsiders, they were simply grand ceremonial chambers. But within royal circles, the staterooms represented something far greater: authority, legitimacy, and proximity to the crown itself. Losing access to those rooms wasn't merely an inconvenience, it was a message. The significance of the staterooms has never been measured by their walls alone. For generations, they have stood at the center of royal life, serving as the place where monarchs welcomed world leaders, hosted historic receptions, and reinforced the image of stability that the monarchy depends upon. Every invitation extended within those rooms carried meaning. Every appearance signaled status. Every seat at every gathering quietly reflected an individual's place within the royal hierarchy. That is why the rumors surrounding Queen Camilla's reported restrictions created such immediate shock among those who understood how the institution truly worked. This was not simply about access to a location. It was about access to influence, visibility, and royal authority itself. As whispers spread through palace circles, many began revisiting the events of recent years through a different perspective. Prince William's role within the monarchy had been steadily expanding. What once seemed like preparation for a distant future increasingly appeared to be preparation for responsibilities arriving much sooner than expected. With King Charles facing ongoing health challenges and public attention focused on the future of the crown, William's influence reportedly grew beyond ceremonial duties. Palace insiders suggested that decisions once reserved for senior advisors were increasingly passing across his desk. Some described it as a natural evolution. Others viewed it as the beginning of a profound shift in the balance of power. What made the situation especially fascinating was the symbolism attached to every reported change. Within royal households, symbols often carry greater weight than official announcements. A canceled invitation can reveal more than a public statement. A changed seating arrangement can communicate more than a speech. And when questions arise regarding access to the staterooms, the implications become impossible to ignore. Courtiers reportedly understood this immediately. They knew that such spaces were not simply used for ceremonies. They served as gateways to the inner workings of the monarchy itself. To stand within those rooms was to stand close to the center of royal influence. To be absent from them raised questions that no one seemed willing to answer. The silence from senior aides only deepened the mystery. Requests for clarification reportedly met the same carefully controlled response. No confirmations, no denials, no explanations. Yet behind that silence, speculation intensified. Some insiders suggested palace operations were undergoing broader restructuring. Others believed the changes reflected evolving priorities under William's growing leadership. Whatever the truth may have been, one fact became increasingly difficult to dismiss. Something inside the royal household was changing, and those changes appeared larger than any single disagreement. Meanwhile, veteran courtiers reportedly found themselves asking uncomfortable questions. If access could be adjusted so suddenly, what other changes might follow? If authority was quietly shifting behind closed doors, who would ultimately benefit? And perhaps most importantly, what circumstances had created the need for such a dramatic message in the first place? Those questions lingered over every conversation, every gathering, and every whispered exchange among palace insiders. The uncertainty created an atmosphere unlike anything seen in years, with many sensing that the real story remained hidden beneath the surface. As questions spread through palace corridors, attention quickly turned toward the disagreements that may have led to this extraordinary moment. For years, the public saw smiles, ceremonies, and carefully managed appearances. Yet behind those polished images, reports suggest a series of disagreements had been quietly deepening between different factions of the royal household. The questions surrounding the staterooms did not emerge from nowhere. Long before rumors of restricted access began circulating, many royal observers had noticed subtle signs that the monarchy was entering a period of transformation. Publicly, the institution projected unity. Official appearances continued. Carefully worded statements reassured the public that everything remained stable. Yet beneath that carefully maintained surface, reports increasingly pointed toward a growing divide regarding what the future of the monarchy should look like. At the center of those conversations stood Prince William and Princess Catherine, whose influence appeared to be expanding with each passing year. As public admiration for the Prince and Princess of Wales continued to grow, so too did expectations surrounding their future role. Many insiders reportedly viewed them as the face of the next generation of royal leadership. Their approach often emphasized modernization, stability, and long-term planning, while remaining firmly rooted in tradition. Supporters believed this balance positioned them perfectly for the challenges ahead. But as their influence increased, questions naturally emerged about how power, visibility, and responsibility would be distributed among senior members of the royal family. What appeared straightforward to the public was reportedly far more complicated behind palace walls. The situation became even more delicate as King Charles faced ongoing health concerns. Every royal institution relies upon certainty, and uncertainty often creates opportunities for competing visions to emerge. According to palace insiders, discussions about future priorities became more frequent as attention increasingly shifted toward the years ahead. Some favored preserving established structures exactly as they existed. Others reportedly believed the monarchy would need to adapt in order to maintain public confidence in a rapidly changing world. Neither side necessarily viewed itself as acting against the institution, yet differing ideas about the path forward gradually created tensions that became harder to ignore. Reports also suggested disagreements occasionally surfaced regarding public roles and responsibilities. While official engagements continued without interruption, insiders claimed that conversations about representation, visibility, and influence became increasingly sensitive. Every appearance carried symbolic meaning. Every assignment reflected priorities. Every decision communicated something about the future direction of the crown. As a result, even relatively small choices reportedly attracted significant attention among those working behind the scenes. What might have appeared insignificant from the outside often carried enormous importance within palace circles. Over time, palace insiders began describing a changing balance of power. The phrase surfaced repeatedly in private conversations and media speculation alike. While King Charles remained the reigning monarch, William's growing authority as heir reportedly became impossible to overlook. Advisors, staff members, and royal observers increasingly viewed him not simply as a future king, but as a central figure shaping decisions in the present. That evolution may have been natural, but it also created an environment where competing interests could collide. The closer the monarchy moved toward its next chapter, the more difficult it became to separate today's responsibilities from tomorrow's realities. By this stage, tensions that had once remained hidden were reportedly becoming harder to conceal. Small disagreements attracted greater scrutiny. Routine decisions generated unusual speculation. Long-standing relationships appeared increasingly strained under the weight of uncertainty. And with every passing week, the feeling grew that something significant was approaching. The whispers became louder. The questions became sharper. The private struggles that had unfolded quietly for months seemed destined to emerge into public view. Then came the decision that transformed private tensions into a public demonstration of authority. The decision reportedly arrived without fanfare, without announcement, and without explanation. Yet its impact was immediate. What appeared to be a routine administrative adjustment carried the unmistakable weight of a future king asserting control. By the time whispers about internal disagreements had reached their peak, many inside royal circles were already anticipating that some kind of response would follow. What few expected, however, was how quietly it would happen. There were no public declarations and no dramatic statements issued from palace offices. Instead, reports suggest that a series of operational changes began moving through the royal household with remarkable speed. At first glance, they appeared procedural. Yet, beneath the surface, many believed they carried a much deeper meaning. The monarchy has always communicated through symbols as much as words, and according to palace insiders, this was one of those moments when actions spoke louder than any official announcement ever could. Much of the speculation centered on Prince William and his reportedly expanding involvement in operational decisions. Over recent years, observers had become accustomed to seeing his influence grow gradually. But now, according to those familiar with palace affairs, that influence seemed to be taking a more direct form. Administrative decisions that once attracted little public attention suddenly became the focus of intense discussion. Security procedures were reportedly reviewed. Access permissions were allegedly reassessed. Scheduling arrangements appeared to shift. While each individual change may have seemed minor on its own, together they painted a picture that many found impossible to ignore. The atmosphere among palace staff reportedly changed almost immediately. Employees who were accustomed to strict routines suddenly found themselves navigating new protocols. Advisors who had long understood the established order reportedly began reassessing assumptions about where authority now rested. No one publicly challenged the changes. No one openly criticized them. Yet conversations behind closed doors were said to be filled with questions. Was this simply administrative housekeeping? Or was it the beginning of something far more significant? The uncertainty itself became part of the story. What made the situations especially powerful was the symbolism attached to it. Royal institutions thrive on continuity. They move carefully, often avoiding abrupt shifts whenever possible. That is why even subtle adjustments can send shockwaves through palace circles. Insiders reportedly understood that these changes were not being interpreted merely as practical decisions. They were being viewed as signals, messages, evidence that the future heir was becoming increasingly comfortable exercising authority within the institution he would one day inherit. Whether intentional or not, that perception quickly spread beyond palace walls. Soon, media attention followed. Royal commentators began connecting recent developments with months of growing speculation about changing power dynamics inside the monarchy. Every report generated new questions. Every unanswered inquiry fueled additional theories. The lack of official clarification only heightened public fascination. Some observers argued the changes reflected a natural transition as William prepared for greater responsibility. Others viewed them as evidence of deeper divisions within the royal family. Whatever the reality may have been, one conclusion seemed increasingly unavoidable. The monarchy was entering a new phase, and many of its most important decisions were no longer being viewed through the lens of the present alone, but through the lens of the future. As attention intensified, the reported order itself began to take on a life of its own. What started as a quiet adjustment evolved into a symbol of authority, influence, and shifting priorities. Yet the real impact was only beginning to emerge. Because while the order may have seemed simple, its consequences reached far beyond administrative procedures, touching relationships, reputations, and the delicate balance that held the royal household together. But while the order may have been simple, its consequences rippled far beyond a single set of doors. Inside Buckingham Palace, reactions reportedly ranged from surprise to disbelief. Veteran staff members who had witnessed decades of royal history suddenly found themselves watching another chapter unfold in real time. The reported order may have been delivered quietly, but its effects spread through the palace with astonishing speed. Within days, conversations that would normally focus on upcoming engagements and ceremonial responsibilities reportedly shifted toward a single subject. Staff members who had spent years navigating the complex rhythms of royal life suddenly found themselves discussing developments that few had anticipated. According to insiders, there was a growing sense that something significant had happened, even if no one could fully explain what it meant. The uncertainty itself became a source of fascination. Every conversation seemed to generate new questions, and every question led to even more speculation. Among veteran employees, the reaction was reportedly especially striking. These were individuals who had witnessed royal marriages, state visits, historic celebrations, and moments of national mourning. They had seen crises come and go, yet many insiders claimed the atmosphere surrounding this situation felt unusually tense. Perhaps it was because the reported changes appeared to touch something deeper than routine palace operations. Or perhaps it was because the timing raised difficult questions about leadership, influence, and the future direction of the monarchy. Whatever the reason, whispers reportedly spread through corridors with remarkable persistence. As speculation intensified, senior courtiers were said to be working tirelessly behind the scenes to contain the growing narrative. Their challenge was not simply managing information, it was managing perception. Royal institutions rely heavily on stability, and uncertainty can quickly become a story of its own. Reports suggest advisors attempted to reassure concerned staff while maintaining the strict confidentiality that palace culture demands. Yet every effort to calm the situation seemed to create new intrigue. The more carefully officials guarded information, the more determined observers became to uncover what was really happening. Meanwhile, official palace channels remained notably silent. No clarifications were issued, no public explanations emerged. For many royal watchers, that silence became impossible to ignore. In modern royal life, communication is often carefully orchestrated. When a story grows large enough, some form of response typically follows. Yet in this case, the absence of commentary appeared deliberate. That decision only fueled additional interest. Commentators, journalists, and royal experts began dissecting every available detail, searching for clues hidden within the gaps of what remained unsaid. The media attention soon expanded beyond the original reports. What began as a discussion about access restrictions evolved into a broader debate about shifting power dynamics inside the royal family. Questions emerged regarding future engagements, ceremonial appearances, and the evolving responsibilities of senior royals. Could more changes be coming? Would public roles be adjusted? Was this an isolated decision or part of a larger strategy taking shape behind closed doors? Every theory seemed plausible because so little concrete information was available to confirm or deny it. Most importantly, concerns began growing about what the reported move symbolized. In royal institutions, symbolism often carries extraordinary weight. A single action can communicate far more than a lengthy statement. That is why so many observers focused not merely on what had happened, but on what it appeared to represent. To some, it suggested a monarchy preparing for its next era. To others, it hinted at deeper divisions that had remained hidden from public view for far too long. The uncertainty created an atmosphere where every development felt loaded with meaning. Yet while staff of conversations, media coverage, and palace speculation dominated headlines, the individual at the center of the storm was facing pressures far more personal and far more profound. Yet the person caught at the center of the controversy faced a challenge far greater than palace gossip. Royal life has always required resilience, but insiders suggest this moment felt different. For the first time in years, Queen Camilla reportedly found herself confronting a reality she could neither control nor easily dismiss. For someone who had spent decades navigating controversy, criticism, and relentless public attention, the situation reportedly carried an unusual emotional weight. Throughout her journey into the heart of the royal family, Queen Camilla had faced challenges that would have overwhelmed many others. She endured years of scrutiny, public skepticism, and intense media pressure before eventually securing a place within the institution. That path had been long, difficult, and often painful. Yet, according to those following recent developments, the controversy surrounding her reported loss of symbolic access created a different kind of challenge altogether. This was not simply about public opinion. It was about position, influence, and the uncomfortable realization that certain decisions might no longer be hers to shape. Reports emerging from royal circles suggested private frustration was growing behind the scenes. While no official statement supported the claims, insiders described an atmosphere of disappointment and uncertainty surrounding the situation. For years, Camilla had gradually built her role within the monarchy, moving from one of its most controversial figures to an established member of the institution. That transformation required patience, persistence, and an extraordinary ability to weather criticism. Yet the recent controversy reportedly reopened questions many believed had long been settled. Suddenly, discussions about status, authority, and future responsibilities were dominating headlines once again. What made the situation particularly difficult was the symbolic nature of the reported restrictions. In royal life, symbolism often matters as much as reality itself. A title carries meaning. An invitation carries meaning. Access carries meaning. That is why many observers believe the emotional impact extended far beyond any practical consequences. The reported move was being interpreted by some as a signal, and signals within royal institutions can have lasting consequences. Whether fair or unfair, accurate or exaggerated, perceptions often become part of the story. In this case, those perceptions were spreading rapidly. At the same time, public scrutiny intensified. Media outlets, commentators, and royal experts continued examining every development for clues about what might happen next. Questions surrounding Camilla's future role became increasingly difficult to avoid. Would this controversy fade away as quickly as it appeared? Or did it represent a more permanent shift within the monarchy's internal structure? No one seemed able to provide a definitive answer. The absence of clarity only fueled further speculation. Each passing day brought new theories, new interpretations, and new debates regarding the balance of power within the royal family. According to reports, allies sympathetic to Camilla's position quietly attempted to push back against some of the more dramatic narratives emerging in public discussion. They emphasized her years of service, her commitment to royal duties, and the stability she had brought during difficult periods. Supporters argued that isolated reports should not be mistaken for larger conclusions. Yet even those efforts struggled to quiet growing curiosity. The story had evolved beyond a single controversy. It had become a broader conversation about succession, influence, and the future direction of the monarchy itself. As pressure mounted, one reality became impossible to ignore. The situation was no longer confined to palace whispers or media speculation. It had grown into a question touching the very heart of the royal family's future. And with uncertainty continuing to spread, attention inevitably shifted toward the one individual whose response could alter everything. As the controversy deepened, all eyes turned toward the one figure capable of calming the storm or allowing it to continue. No one understood the stakes better than King Charles. Faced with competing loyalties, institutional pressures, and growing public attention, he reportedly found himself navigating one of the most delicate situations of his reign. As speculation continued to swirl around the controversy, many royal observers eventually arrived at the same conclusion. Whatever disagreements may have existed behind palace walls, the person standing at the center of them all was King Charles himself. Reports suggested he found himself caught between powerful and deeply personal forces. On one side stood his wife, whose journey into royal acceptance had been long, controversial, and often painful. On the other stood the institution he had spent his entire life preparing to serve. Balancing family and monarchy has never been simple for any sovereign, but insiders claimed the circumstances surrounding this episode made that balance especially difficult. The pressure reportedly intensified because of the king's ongoing health concerns. At a moment when stability mattered more than ever, every development seemed to attract heightened scrutiny. Every decision carried additional significance. Every rumor generated fresh headlines. According to palace sources, the atmosphere surrounding senior royal discussions became increasingly sensitive as questions about the monarchy's future gained momentum. While Charles remained firmly at the center of royal life, the The reality of succession and long-term planning could no longer be ignored. The institution was preparing for tomorrow, even while managing the challenges of today. Reports of private discussions soon began circulating among royal commentators. While the details remained unclear, insiders suggested conversations involving senior family members became more frequent as the controversy expanded. Advisors reportedly examined the potential consequences of every option available. Some decisions carried political risks. Others carried personal costs. The challenge was not simply resolving a disagreement. It was protecting the stability of the monarchy itself, while ensuring that relationships within the family did not suffer irreversible damage. That delicate balancing act reportedly became one of the defining challenges of the moment. For Charles, the choices were never straightforward. Any action he took could be interpreted as favoring one side over another. Any silence could be viewed as approval. Any intervention could spark even greater speculation. This is the unique burden of monarchy. Decisions are rarely judged only by their practical impact. They are judged by their symbolism, their timing, and the messages people believe they send. That reality reportedly weighed heavily as the controversy continued dominating royal conversations. Meanwhile, Prince William's expanding authority remained impossible to overlook. The more discussions focused on the future of the crown, the more attention shifted toward the future king. Observers increasingly noted that William's role appeared larger than ever before. His influence was no longer viewed solely as preparation for a future reign. Many believed he was already helping shape the monarchy's direction in meaningful ways. Whether through operational involvement, strategic planning, or growing public leadership, his presence became central to nearly every discussion about where the institution was heading next. Slowly, a broader picture began to emerge. This controversy was no longer simply about access, protocol, or palace administration. It reflected something much larger. It reflected a monarchy navigating transition, a royal family confronting change, an institution balancing tradition against the demands of an uncertain future. And as each new development unfolded, it became increasingly clear that the story would be remembered not because of a single decision, but because of what that decision appeared to reveal about the shifting balance of power within the House of Windsor. And as the dust slowly settled, the deeper meaning behind the entire episode became impossible to ignore. In royal history, some moments are remembered not because of dramatic speeches or official announcements, but because of what they quietly revealed: a closed door, a revoked privilege, a shift in power that everyone could see, yet few dared discuss openly. As the controversy surrounding the reported lockout gradually moved from breaking headlines into royal history, a larger picture began to emerge. The story was never simply about access to a room or a change in palace procedures. It was about symbolism. Throughout the history of the monarchy, some of the most important turning points have arrived without fanfare. No grand declarations, no historic ceremonies. Just subtle actions that quietly signaled a new reality. According to many observers, this moment appeared to belong in that category. What mattered was not the physical door itself, but what that door seemed to represent. For supporters and critics alike, the reported restriction became a powerful symbol of changing influence inside the House of Windsor. At the center of that transformation stood Prince William. For years, he had been viewed as the future of the monarchy. Yet the events surrounding this controversy caused many people to see him differently. Increasingly, he was no longer being discussed solely as a future king. He was being discussed as a leader already shaping the institution's direction. Whether through growing responsibility, expanding authority, or his role in major decisions, William's presence appeared larger than ever. The transition had been gradual, almost invisible at times. Then suddenly it seemed impossible to miss. What many interpreted from this episode was not merely a decision, but a demonstration of confidence from the man expected to inherit the crown one day. The public reaction reflected the divide in interpretation. Some commentators described the reported move as a natural consequence of evolving leadership within the royal family. Others viewed it as evidence of deeper tensions that had remained hidden for years. Social media discussions exploded with competing theories. Television panels debated the meaning behind every reported detail. Newspapers analyzed the symbolism from every possible angle. Yet despite the countless opinions, one fact remained constant. People were talking about the future. More specifically, they were talking about who would define that future. At the same time, questions surrounding Queen Camilla's long-term role continued to linger. Supporters emphasized her years of dedication and service. Critics pointed to the challenges she had faced throughout her public life. Yet regardless of perspective, many agreed that the controversy had reignited conversations about her place within a monarchy undergoing significant change. The uncertainty itself became part of the story. Every unanswered question created new speculation. Every silence encouraged fresh interpretations. And as public attention remained fixed on the issue, the broader themes became increasingly difficult to ignore. Ultimately, the significance of this episode extends far beyond any individual royal. It speaks to the challenges faced by an institution balancing continuity and change. It highlights the delicate process of preparing for the future while preserving tradition. Most importantly, it reveals how power within the monarchy often shifts long before official transitions occur. Rarely does influence move through dramatic announcements. More often it moves quietly, almost unnoticed, until one moment suddenly brings everything into focus. That is why this story continues to resonate. It is not remembered because of what was said. It is remembered because of what it appeared to reveal. A monarchy in transition, a future king stepping forward, a royal household adapting to a new reality while carrying the weight of centuries of tradition. And perhaps that is the lesson hidden beneath all the headlines and speculation. Because in the House of Windsor, power is rarely taken with a single dramatic act. It is often revealed through the doors that suddenly stop opening. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.